Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Your host, Tyler Smith, here. And as you can see, I'm back in the woods. It's actually a bit muddy and slippery back here. It did rain earlier today, early this morning, but it got pretty hot today, and the clouds are looking quite dark again, so. These woods are about 35 minutes away from where I actually live. So it's a little bit of a drive. Maybe they got more rain here today. Not sure. But anyway, just out here enjoying a stroll in these woods. I've done a couple videos out here. I know I've done one video that was some guitar covers, and then one of the other videos, I believe, was about the Hiram key. I kind of found a spot to sit, got comfortable, and made a video. So this is kind of raw, footage. I'm not used to really walking with the camera for a YouTube video, but hey, I figured I'd try out something new. So to get to the topic of today's video, I wasn't even really sure that I was going to be doing a video today, but have some time to get out here and just, walk around and basically enjoy the moment. I love coming back here because my mind doesn't have to dwell, on too much. I can just kind of let go and release, and walks are good for that. Walks are good cleansing activities, a natural cleanser. But I think what I want to talk about today is, it goes a little bit in line with sympathetic magic. But really, I'm not really even sure how I'm going to put it into words, so we are just going to see how it comes about. But basically understanding, especially those of us who are on this journey, of knowledge, not only knowledge for not the sake of knowledge, but understanding the underlying causal factors of reality. The occult sciences is what this is all about. It's more about the unseen that really lies behind the seen world, or the world that is portrayed in front of us, which is a reflection of the self. Things from the unconscious and the subconscious make themselves manifest. Where our vibratory rate is, and always staying in a balance between positive and negative polarities. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not more magnetized to one side. You could be more of the positive polarity, or you could be more of the negative polarity. Myself, personally, and I think every practitioner of whatever sort you are, no matter how advanced, you're never going to be like completely positive or completely negative, because reality, as we know, the yin and yang of the universe, those quote-unquote opposite energies are always keeping themselves in balance and in check. And that's how the universe works. There's quote-unquote opposing forces, which are really just different degrees of the same manifestation. If we look at it from a source perspective, it is just different degrees of existence manifesting themselves in various ways, whether that be on the physical level or in different levels of reality. And that's why we study the tree of life, is to understand that. But what I was getting at about the positive and then the negative polarity was that even those who, might be considered like left-hand path occultists or black magicians, or whether you're more of a right-hand path, even though it's all just one, grand path. Even as I'm walking this forest trail, you can go left or you can go right, but it's still the same path. But even a black magician is going to do things which are positively polarized. And there's no, even those in the White Lodge and such, you know, it's not all just positive polarity. It's just not. Those kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Extremists, those extreme levels of polarity that go all one way. You're not really going to see that in the physical universe. The physical universe is a manifestation of both the negative and the positive polarity. So it's not going to be purely one. The energies are not quite reconciled on that level here in the physical world, and it is a mixture of both. So for the most part, you know, I consider myself more gray, not really, you know, completely white nor completely black in the sense of positive and negative polarity, but of course a mixture of the two. The bugs are a little annoying back here. It is a little wet, so I could see that. But what I wanted to get at in this video, and I'm not going to make this a super long video, it's going to be fairly short, is those of you who are on this path, whatever your tradition is, whatever your practices are, you know, whatever your spiritual belief system is, that doesn't really matter too much to me, is that, you know, even from a young age, I'm always kind of the one who always wanted to learn more. Maybe you're kind of the person who, you know, when there's a lot of people in your house, or you have guests over, or there's like a house party or something, you're always kind of the one that kind of stays in the background. You know, you're the one who's maybe always hitting the books, and you're realizing that everyone around you is playing a different role than you are, which is not a bad thing. Remember, everything happens for a reason, and, you know, correspondence is as above, so below. So people just are who they are. That's their frequency, that's their polarity, wherever they are in the spectrum, because it's a wide spectrum, you know, of degrees of manifestation, if you will. They're just doing their thing. You know, and this kind of information, this kind of knowledge, it's not for everyone. It's open to everyone, anyone who will inquire into it. But, you know, it's really up to the individual whether they will go to the door and knock and seek admission, you know, to the mysteries. And I guess that could be taken both metaphorically and literally, depending on who you are. But what I wanted to get at is, it is kind of cloudy back here. There have been some forest fires in Canada, and they said that that's affected the air quality. Or is it just my glasses? I think that might just be my glasses. Oh, glasses can be a nuisance sometimes, for sure. Wish I had that 20/20 vision. But anyway, yeah, the forest fires, I don't know much about it that's going on, but it's affecting the air quality here. It's quite cloudy. But I keep getting sidetracked. So the point of this video is that, you know, you may feel different. You may feel very unique, and you are if you are into this kind of information. You know, it's gonna put you in a different place mentally than, you know, most other people. You'll find that many people are just striving to get by. And, you know, some days are like that. You know, it's just one step at a time. But all of those things are, you know, the basics, you know, the survival, the needs, the requirements of life. Those are all, you know, kind of the ground floor workings of not only society, but us as individuals as well. If we can get those things firmly established, you know, like housing, you know, food, water, and clothing, those are all kind of baseline, you know, requirements for life. And you'll find that a lot of people are just kind of stuck in that square, or that super compartmentalization of existence. And you could say they're trapped in the matrix in a sense, but yet it's not wrong. I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's just what it is. They are fulfilling their duty or their station in life, with whatever their correspondences are, their soul's purpose. Everyone has a different soul purpose. But you kind of have to come to the conclusion, how long do people want to wonder for? We're here to experience things both difficult and blissful. Because the difficult things, they are catalysts to help us change, to help us evolve, to help us grow. When we're in times of peace and tranquility, those are really times for us to build up ourselves and not really, take it for granted. That's a good time to work on the self. Don't get too distracted while things are good. Don't take advantage of it, but don't take it for granted. A lot of people, they want to wait until things get really bad, and then that's when they freak out and they're like, oh, I need to get my shit together. No, work on getting your stuff together when you're already on top, when you're already in a stable, solid foundational place. I'm still not really getting to the purpose of this video, though. There is a sympathetic link that when you're on this path, when you're on this journey, and when you're consciously into, learning this kind of stuff and walking the path, however you're going to walk that path, everyone's going to walk that path, uniquely different. Everyone, has their own way of going about. And even those we most love, we have to respect their path, regardless of how different it is. And then some people we have to, sometimes cut ties with, even if it's temporary, whether it's permanent. But, whatever it is, life eventually goes on, though. And the universe always provides. If you are in the right state of being, the universe will always provide. If you are always in a state of consciousness where you are trying to improve yourself, no matter what, even if it's just a little bit at a time, just any conscious effort to not just get wrapped up in the normal mumbo jumbo of everyday life, or do things that are really going against your better nature, your higher self, your higher potential. If you're just constantly doing things all the time that are not progressing you towards that, then you may really want to re-question, what it is that you're doing. And this is something I've had to ask myself plenty of times. I'm not saying I'm above this or anything. And this isn't to boost anyone's ego. But when you're doing this kind of work, you do tend to get a better relationship with Source. And you have that connection because you realize that Source is your own highest self anyway. So as you start seeing yourself as the Source, you start meditating and see the white circle around you, you realize that no matter what, whether you want to blame it on, if it's a crazy, quote unquote, bad experience, because I've had some pretty interesting things happen lately. But, the more you walk this path and the more you study correspondences and you take your studies, real, and you take your practices seriously, you're going to start seeing the connections and the correspondences and seeing why things happen. Now, you're not going to understand everything, of course. We're always learning, we're always growing. If we just knew it all, there would kind of be no purpose. There's a Dave Matthews song, actually, that brings to mind. It says, if I was giant size, if I was on top of it all, what in the world would I sing for if I had it all? Something along those lines. It's a really interesting song because the guy has everything. It's kind of like the Lord of the world, up in his lonely tower, and he's just governing the whole world from there. But maybe he's the ultimate servant of humanity. Maybe he's the ultimate, dark wizard of humanity. He's, that we're speaking, more metaphorically here, but, you could use this as a visual to understand how energies work and how the guardianship of this planet and of society, the ones who are really energetically, producing the reality that people are manifesting because they're able to manipulate, and I'm not even saying that in a bad way, manipulate the way that humanity's evolution takes place. They are usually like unseen, they are hidden. But that's just kind of a side thing. What I really wanted to get to is when you get this sympathetic link with Source, when you align yourself with your true higher purpose, when you're always striving on this path, and even if you need to take a break, for me, even just the past week or so, I've kind of taken more of a step back from my studies a little bit, just kind of been focused on like everyday things. And I've been reading The Lord of the Rings, so it's been kind of just a nice, like, taking a step back for a second. But for me, this is something that's always going to be dear to my heart, all of this information. This is always going to be a part of me, the occult studies, and just because I've learned so much at this point, and there's still so much more to learn. I am not a master by any means. I have made many mistakes, but those mistakes have taught me a lot. And sometimes when we look back on ourselves just 10 years ago, we almost ask ourselves, like, who is that person? Who was that person? Like, that was so dumb. That wasn't even me. And that means that we're evolving, that we're growing, right? So it's actually a pretty cool thing. So everything happens for a reason. Things have to be experienced here. Think of it as sometimes life could be viewed almost as like you are Source. Imagine you are Source, but know that you are. And the world is just shifting and moving around you, but you know that you are always Source. So everything you are experiencing, there's a reason, there's a correspondence, there's a synchronicity behind that manifestation. And all of that is formed in the unconscious, the subconscious, the more dark matter part of the universe, if you will. The chaos, the primordial chaos. And then the actual objective reality, universe A, if we're looking at the percentage of dark matter as opposed to other, components of the universe, the dark matter percentage is large. So most of what it is the unseen, especially, if we look at the Ein, I've said this many times before on this channel, Kabbalistically, that the Ein, the AIN, is the no thing, but it is all potentiality. It is all potential manifestation that could take place. So it's the unseen, the unmanifested, yet it is potential. It is pure, raw potential. And it gives way to all manifestation. It's like outside of creation, but it is creation itself. And it is not creation at the same time. That was a really slippery spot. So, very muddy. Back here in a couple spots. Not only muddy, but wet, like little puddles. So, I brought flip-flops on this walk. So, as I've observed, I'm just amongst such different types of people. I have been my whole life. Very unique individuals. Some more, what you would consider muggle-ish. And I'm not saying that in any, I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm better than them. Like, that's just what it is. That's how it is with, we all just need to, like, respect each other's, like, individuality. And I think that this world would be a much better place. Basically, if you don't fuck with me, I have no reason to mess with you. You do your thing over there, I do my thing over here. And things can be done real civil. It doesn't, people just get so worked up and their emotions completely control them to the point where, other entities and stuff, and I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea to blame anything on other entities, whether that be positive or negative beings, because you're manifesting that into your life yourself. So if you think that something like that is happening to you, then maybe instead of going to a healer, you just need to really sit down with yourself, start processing your emotions, and really ask the serious question, what is it from within that is causing this without effect in my universe? But what I've noticed is even just being humble, and when I say humble, I mean being so humble in the face of, you know, source, which is our own highest self, which is always looking out for us anyway, and manifesting the experiences that we need to manifest, because it's us from a, quote, higher perspective. You could say higher density. I do like the word density instead of dimensions. Makes a little more sense in some regards. But this force is always looking out for you, you know, and I've always just kind of sympathetically, in a way, kind of put myself in the hands of the source, my own higher self. And sometimes you just have to trust the universe and know that no matter what happens, you know, and this is my hometown. And I found out like 3 weeks after that one of my buddies, you know, I was just thinking about this when I got to the woods, I heard that he passed away. He was only 28 years old. And it's just so sad. I didn't even hear about it until 2 or 3 weeks later, because I'm not in connection with a lot of people in my hometown like I was. I mean, I know a lot of people, but I'm not in connection with them. And just, you know, things like that, just, you know, I wasn't even really able to process like the emotion. Like I still haven't really like felt that. So that's just, for me personally, that's one of the things that you know, one of these days it will hit me, you know, that my brother Ryan, he's not here anymore, you know, and I used to go and check up on him, and, you know, I always knew that he was kind of in with like the wrong crowd, and I always tried to show him that there was a different, you know, there was a way, there was a light. I didn't like force anything on him. I just showed him some different ways of thinking, tried to share some YouTube videos with him. But like I said, there was a purpose, and there was, you know, there's a reason for why things, you know, manifest the way they do. And it can be very upsetting sometimes. But if we just stay humble, if we just stay true to source, doing the best that we can, knowing that we're taking, you know, real objective action in the universe, once we do our, you know, our practices or our energetic work, and then we go out there and actually take action, you know, set it and forget it, you know, that's really what's going to help us manifest, you know, all of us, what we're looking for, what we want. And it's not always what our ego wants. You know, are you really in the place today that your ego 10 years ago thought you should be? Hopefully you're more in a place, you know, not so much where you wanted to be, but where you need to be. So being able to have this link with source and knowing that you'll always be all right no matter what. You know, I'm very fortunate to have a really good support system. And, you know, there's a lot of people that care about me, and, you know, my real tight circle is real close. You know, there's only a few of us, but there are a lot of people that I'm connected to. And I always just try to be a light, you know, as much as I can. There have been times where I've kind of had to be like more the negative polarity, and I really don't mind that, you know, at this point. I understand where the balances need to come into play when I see them. You know, I'm learning that more as I grow. Of course, I don't know everything, but I can sense when things are going too much one way, and there kind of needs to be a counterbalance. Sometimes chaos needs to be added to order when it becomes too artificial. It wouldn't even be true natural law order. It would be, you know, a synthetic order. You know, there's times to bring catalytic change, such as chaos, and that evolutionary, you know, view of bringing that force. And then there's time to bring order out of chaos. There's a time where chaos gets too out of hand, because chaos is what brings forth birth to all of the universe and creation. But there's also a time where that force is too much, and then it doesn't give way to enough positive energy, and then it's just all dark and nobody's happy, and, you know, so. And happiness, to me, I never view happiness from like a superficial way. I think a lot of people are just superficially happy, but I think true happiness really comes from like really getting to know yourself and really digging down into the roots and, you know, learning who you are and working on your connection with source, with all that is. Learning to respect all of the energies, whether they be on the higher spectrum or the quote lower spectrum, the more denser degrees of existence or the more celestial light degrees of existence. You can learn to work with all these different forces, and you know, just keep doing your studying. I'm just giving, you know, some general perspectives in this video, and I'm about to end it here. So yeah, just knowing that even sometimes if it seems like you're not in the right place that you're meant to be, just follow your heart, but also your mind. You know, it's both the Christ heart Tiphareth center. Raphael's connected with that. Archangel Michael's connected with that, the golden glow of the heart. And then there's the higher sun, or the black sun, which is Da'at. And that's more connected with Lucifer. So it's the heart center and the intellect, both sides of Christ. So the Christ, the solar Christ, and then the intellectual Christ, and bring them together, because really there's not all these different beings per se, not on the highest level, it's all one. So, and then things, you know, start to get a little more interesting when you take into account like Universe B and all of those concepts, because that gives birth to a whole new reality. It's even beyond this one. But we have work to do here first, and we have experiences to be had. And yeah, I think I am going to go ahead and wrap the video up there. So yeah, guys, this was just kind of a spontaneous, you know, video talking about my thoughts on some different things about, you know, allowing Source to bring you to the right place at the right time. As long as you're pursuing the great work, like, you're always going to be taken care of one way or another. You know, and even in times of death, you know, when we lose loved ones and stuff, remember that death is just transformation that takes us eventually, you know, to our grand abode. We all come from such a beautiful, beautiful place. And we have the free will and the option to be here in this present moment now. And it's such a beautiful thing. And where we decide to go from here, what we decide to experience until that grand return, you know, we're going to have some tales to tell. So, all right, everyone, peace and love. If you're new to this channel and you liked what you heard in this video, please like and subscribe. If this is your first video also, you'll probably want to go and check out some of my other stuff if some of these concepts didn't make sense to you, because a lot of this stuff is are topics and subjects that I've covered in previous videos. So please give a, you know, subscribe if you like this channel. Feel free to share it with like-minded people. Like the video, and comment if you want to engage in conversation. So peace and blessings, everyone, and until next time.